and welcome to our Spotlight series. I'm sure by now you'll get the gist of these things. So I get to meet with founders, entrepreneurs, business leaders from all around the world doing brilliant things and driving the insurance industry forward. This week, I am very pleased to be joined by Christina from Lydia. Christina, hello.
Hello, glad to be here.
How are you doing?
I am doing well.
Good. Now I'm going to ask you the first question just to get a little sense of you as an entrepreneur, as a founder of a business. Give me a little bit of your background, if you mind, before you set up Lydia. I'd just like to know the lady behind the business.
Yeah, so I set up Lydia.ai. Back then we were actually called Notions Research when my co-founders and I graduated from university. And back then we had a lot of enthusiasm, a cool piece of technology, but not a lot of awareness of how things actually work. We're fresh grads, right? So when we first started, we were actually a natural language processing company, and we had that technology to actually put unstructured text into structured text. And we could do that across multiple languages. And we had this we were young and we had this excitement and passion, we're gonna do something, right? So as the years wore on and we actually went to market, the market is cruel, but the market is honest, right? And we started realizing that our first initial hypothesis on what this tech could be used for, which was language translation, wasn't where we actually ended up in. So we went from this piece of technology to actually figuring out, okay, who has a problem that we can actually, are we part of a bigger problem? And we realized that there's tons of unstructured data out in Asia. We were working specifically in the healthcare domain. We can actually use data that other people could previously not use in order to make really great healthcare predictions, right? So now that we knew, okay, what problem we could solve, we had to be like, who has this problem and where is that big impact going to be, right? And so then we kind of went around going around, lots of customer discovery interviews, lots of no's, lots of doors getting shut on our faces. And then we found out, hey, you know what? It's actually insurance companies, because for them, they're trying to figure out how in the world are they going to actually insure the next billion people? How are they going to use these new sources of data to make insurance company and insurance products more personalized, more suited to this rising middle class and easier to buy? And from then on, we realized this is a problem we're solving. This is who has the problem. And it became a step of how does the implementation of it and actually execution of it actually work, right? Mm-hmm. So that, again, took us another year and a half kind of thing to figure out, okay, if this is a problem we're solving, this is how we're going to actually do it, how it works in the real life. So our journey from actually this cool piece of technology to figuring out how we fit and what problems we solve in the world, to who has this problem, to how it actually works in the real world. It sounds cool as points of time, but it actually took us multiple years and multiple wrong detours and wrong ways to actually come to where we are today. And along the way, we've actually been able to have been very lucky to have really supportive investors come on board, really experienced insurance professional coming in with their years of knowledge to actually figure out how we're going to get this baby up and running. So we've been very lucky to start from an idea in a college dorm, if you will. We were at a college innovation space with the elevator doors open physically. It's a very old building, to where we are today, joined by people who really brought in the firepowers and the muscle to get us to where we need to be.
What's the time span from those university days to where you are today?
4.5, 5 years. It's been a while.
Okay. And then I was going to say, you brought it up yourself around the investors that have kind of supported you through that, right? Because the difficulty for any small business finding its product market fit, if we're going to use that sort of as a cliche, is the amount of cash you're going to burn through, right? And and you might well be taking small salaries at the time of setting it up as students and eating the noodles and and all the rest. But it's did you at what point did investors come on board in the business?
We raised seed investment very early on. Our seed investors have been phenomenally patient, and they really funded us as a team to actually figure it out, right? And it was roughly in Series A, where we had information venture partners there, locally based in Toronto, very experienced fintech investors. They understood the long sales cycle, what we were trying to do. They came in alongside Alibaba for the Asia actually support. that's when we started taking like more serious money, actually being like, okay, now you have actually capitals in the coffer to execute on some of those things. And then from then on, when we were in the middle of trying to get our insurance products actually deployed with the health score, it takes a little bit longer. So we actually went and raised a Series A+ right before our insurance products actually launched. And then on, it was actually existing investors. We had new investors, 500 global, come in with Spark Labs and whatnot, actually give us the extra oomph we needed to get it passed into the go live stage.
And tell me more about the business, right? So you mentioned the health score as part of that, and you've given a little insight into kind of the pivot, the evolution, to the journey today. What's kind of the market pitch? I'm an insurer. Who am I? Maybe first of all, and then what's the kind of the market pitch and the use case for me wanting to buy Lydia.ai?
Yeah, so we're on the mission to insure the next billion people. And the way that we do that is by helping insurance companies figure out how to use new sources of alternative data. And actually use that in life and health insurance, both in the accelerating underwriting and actually creating new insurance products. So some of the new types of alternative data we use is obviously the wearable types. Also, one specific type that we're really excited about, we call it open health data. So what that is that many governments in Asia are actually, they all have e-health initiatives. And a part of that e-health initiative is actually a repository of electronic health records that are accessible via API should the person actually consent to a third party having it. So if we're able to actually help an insurer figure out how to use that new source of the data in conjunction with like the wearable and whatnot to produce a health score, we can actually help insurance companies and their agents figure out, okay, how are we going to make personalized recommendation? What can we offer this person as an immediate buy through accelerated underwriting? And if we have a better assessment of their health, could we actually offer them insurance products, create insurance product, brand new ones that are more suited to their evolving needs?
Tell me about the business as it currently stands. So you're in Toronto. You talked about the Asian market. Where are your clients? Where is kind of the business based, or the business coming from for you guys at the moment?
Yeah, so our team is divided by a 12-hour time difference. So our machine learning research, so our R&D team is actually here locally in Toronto because we have such great talent, right? Like we are the heart of deep learning, the birthplace of deep learning. And so we've kept our machine learning and our machine learning operation, all of the teams actually over here. And out in Asia, we have our sales, marketing, local deployment engineers. A lot of our mobile apps are developed out in Asia, and we are targeting Asia. We actually started first in Taiwan market. It is the world's 10th largest insurance market, and they have a very favorable e-health and data environment. So we do believe they are leaders, and actually the rest of Asia is looking at what Taiwan is doing and actually following suit over there. So we did deploy first in Taiwan, and we're now looking to expand geographically across Asia. And I myself am actually doing a trial move to Singapore, actually for InsurTech Connect Asia. So that's kind of the shifts that we're doing. Yeah.
Okay, and what does involve in a trial move? So you're gonna base yourself out there?
Yeah, we're gonna try it for a month and then come back with the team. It'll probably be 1 month switch for myself, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, amazing. And tell me, what does the future have in store for you guys? What are the sort of, I don't know, the 5-year plans, without, again, it being too cliched? Where do you see the opportunities lying? I mean, you've given a pretty huge figure in kind of looking at sort of 1 billion people. What's the future hold for the business?
So for us, we're really looking at like many people in our field, we're looking at the rising middle class in Asia, right? And for them, there aren't a lot of insurance products that actually fit their needs and that are easy to buy, right? So that's actually the problem that we want to target using new sources of alternative data. So here we've actually proven out in Taiwan that people are willing to consent their data. We can actually create new insurance products. These data does actually create health scores that are great reference markers for underwriting. Now for us in the next 5 years, it's really about how do we make our models more robust and able to ingest more sources of alternative data and make it composite together into a health score that people can actually choose what data they want to use and how accurate they want their health score to be. How do we then use this health score to help them actually build both health and wealth. So it's a health is wealth argument.
Yeah.
So the first step is actually looking at insurance. The next step is looking at, okay, if you know your health, how does that actually impact other sources of financial planning and other types of financial product? How does it, if you're living longer, do you actually have the savings in place to actually help you live the way that you want to live, right? So for us, ultimately, it is health as a service. It's looking at how does your health actually impact your future financial planning, of which insurance is actually a part of it.
I love that. It's really interesting that that bridging the coming together of sort of health and finance, and particularly in the kind of the mental health space, and how important the two are together. And then, you know, working with health insurance companies around the world, is that kind of focus beyond offering health insurance to actually the preventative steps and making sure that, you know, their customers are happy and healthy. And yeah, I love what you're doing. I think so. I have three random questions for you, but they may not be so random for you.
Go for it.
And they may not be so random for you because I'm stealing these from your LinkedIn post. So you have to answer honestly, truthfully, and not from others, right? So this was a LinkedIn post that you put out there. I think you guys have just got back together as a team after a couple of years of COVID. I think it was fairly recently. So and you talked about to ease back into togetherness. You used a set of stories, and the cards prompted 3 questions. Okay, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yes.
Good. So question number 1 was, in my weirdest dream, I am ...
Oh, a hippie driving a caravan across the world, actually, right? I was telling my team this. I was like, if you looked at my YouTube subscription, it's going to be all these, like, basically like these nomadic people living off grid from the land, right? So in my wildest dream, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to have a little plot of land in Hawaii, build my little thorn roof house, and just eat fruits from the ground, like from the earth.
Foraging.
So that foraging, right? That is me in my wildest dream. And it's funny, that question, we had a bunch of people interpret it differently, right? So for me, I interpreted it as, in a parallel universe, this is how I would live my life. I'm not sure if I'll ever get there. So I actually follow a ton of, you know, people on YouTube that actually do this, like drive their little Volkswagen caravans across from Alaska down to Chile, like all across, and they spend 3 years doing it. Or the people, you know, a simple one is is actually just walking the Appalachian Trail, which is in the US, and they go like walk essentially through the woods for like 4 or 5 months, right? And then you have the people. So this like very, I don't even know how to characterize it, right? Like this very, I don't even know what to use it, but very different life from the life that I lead. I would say that's in my weirdest dreams. And we had people talk about flying in balloons because they interpreted weirdest dreams as like a sleeping dream.
Sure.
And then they had the people who did this like random careers and whatnot. So those are kind of, that's me, right? That's how I interpreted the question. But we had a lot of really interesting responses.
Love it. The second question, I've been faking ...
Oh yeah, for me, how I answered it with my team is, I've been faking being like very extroverted, right? Like you talk to me, like you get this sense that, you know, I love being around people and I love all of this, but I do love that. But you can actually be both an introvert and extrovert at the same time. I think if you were to look at my predisposition, I'm actually an introvert. I actually spend a ton of time by myself, spend time on the mountains by myself. Like my preference is actually by myself. I recharge when I am by myself, right? And I feel like this extroverted, actually going out and interacting or whatnot, was very much a learned skill, a muscle that I actually built up over time, right? So for me, it was like, I do feel like there are many times where I fake being this like, very extroverted, kind of open kind of person where when nobody is looking and there's no more need to actually do it, I'm curled around with my cat in a book, right? And probably a mask, right? Getting that skincare in there, right?
I love it. And I think many of us can relate to that. And I think, in fact, COVID may have brought certainly for myself, the worst of that kind of introversion out. In fact, so we had our equivalent of what you're referring to just yesterday. So we had our team get together. We had a quarterly strategy day with everybody, and you know what? It was lovely to see them, but I'd be very happy not to. You know, we've created an amazing culture and bond, and you know, we catch up regularly on a daily basis in different ways, and we've created mechanics. But yeah, you know, but as an entrepreneur, I have to be sort of front and center. Even doing these interviews, right, or writing a newsletter that goes to tens of thousands of people every Friday, it kills me, you know. But it's part of what we have to be doing for our businesses. And I get that.
I don't know how I managed pre-COVID, because after that exact team event you're talking about, I came home and I took a nap. I was like,
right.
That's it. I did not realize this. I had a great time, but I think I need to go to take a nap now.
Sure. Well, third question. Then I'll leave you to it. So, it is, if I could whisper something in the ear of my younger self, I would say ... And what you also put on your post, a lot of the team would say I'd buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it was actually take it easy, right? And I think I've been a really intense person, like all as long as I could have remembered. And I was sharing this with my team, in that when I was a little girl, I was probably like I remember this really distinct thing. It was probably 2 or 3, and you were learning to write your numbers, right? I don't want to be super harsh on myself for not being able to follow the lines that my teacher traced, which you think is like ridiculous. Like, you're a kid, you have no fine motor control to actually be able to trace it. But that's actually a very characteristic of me that has actually carried through. So for every stage, you're kind of always wanting to like push a little bit more, push a little bit harder. And so I guess in many ways, I was determined to go on this entrepreneur route. But if I could tell like my younger self that used to be so stressed out about life and all of this, to just take it easy. Like, life's going to figure out itself for you, right? The universe and its infinite wisdom probably knows a little bit better than you, right? So just like take it easy. I know one of my coworkers said something really interesting, and he's like, hey, you know what, if you really took it easy when you were like younger, even now, right, you might not be where like you would have ended up a completely different person. So is take it easy really what you want to tell yourself? I was like, that's actually a really good point. Like, maybe this is just what was in like universe and me and my role in the universe, what is meant to be. I'm not meant to take it easy, despite the fact that you know, I tell myself, hey, you know what, maybe the correct would be like, don't beat yourself up for it, right? Like, if it doesn't work out, it's okay, pick yourself up and just keep going, right? So that was a very interesting discussion that, you know, came up from this prompt, right?
And do you think you've learned to take it easy?
Easier than before. I think I've gotten a lot more comfortable. The way that I'm looking at it is, I've gotten a lot more comfortable at making mistakes. And that might be taking it easy when mistakes happen, focus on the adaptability end of things. Instead of being like, I made a mistake, this is catastrophic thinking, and actually going into a negative loop. You're like, okay, a mistake happened. What did we learn? What hypotheses were not true? Okay, let's assess the impact of it and figure out how we're gonna adapt, right? I feel like that's been like the mentality shift has helped me take it a little bit easier. And then, you know what, it's also belief that the universe has something better planned, because throughout this multiple pivots in the startup journey, many doors have closed. And every single time a door closed, every single time a door closed, something else opened. And if it wasn't for the door closing and the door opening, I don't think we would have even ended up in Intertech in the first place, right?
Sure.
So it's just trusting the universe and the process to actually bring you to where you need to be. So that's now my version of take it easy. Still work very hard, but take it easy.
Love it. And that brings us neatly back to the business. Christina, look, it's lovely catching up with you. It's lovely understanding the kind of the entrepreneur behind the business, but as well as that, your kind of ambitions for the company. And I wish you not only all the luck for the business, but I'm really interested to find out how that kind of Singapore 1 month, back in Toronto another, works out for you, and seeing that expansion of the business from sort of Taiwan across Asia, and I'm sure the plans are beyond the Asian market. So look, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you in Singapore at ITC Asia.
All
That's
right.
the name of the event, isn't it?
Singapore or around, since I'm there for a whole month, right? Maybe your
Yes,
crazy
good.
travels will bring you across the continent. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm sure they will. So look, thank you again for today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.